Batman. One of the most iconic superheroes on the planet. If not the most iconic one. Definitely top 3 alongside these guys right here. Anyway, the character is so iconic and flushed out and just so awesome that there's a strong case for him being the greatest superhero of all time. And here are the reasons why. I think one of the main arguments for this claim is that Batman's a superhero without superpowers. Now, does that mean that every superhero with powers is awful? Of course not. It's just that it's not that relatable. With Batman, he's literally trained with different martial arts experts to become the best fighter on the planet. Okay, maybe not the best fighter, but definitely top 5 in the DC universe. And it's not just the fact that he's an awesome fighter, but also that he's in peak physical condition, combined with him being the greatest detective on the planet and just having a high intellectual IQ something. I don't know how to speak. The man is literally solving crime cases left and right and left. It's such a different element to a superhero. With other heroes like Superman, for instance, he's obviously a smart character that uses his journalism background to solve certain cases. But with Batman, like, dude, he's literally the world's greatest detective, being able to analyze a crime scene and just draw epic conclusions and just find the bad guys. Combined with him being an expert level strategist that's able to plan out his attacks. He's not someone that's just going to enter a room and fight everyone hand to hand. Instead, he will use the environment to his advantage to pick off his targets silently. I mean, seriously, I think Superman even described him as the most dangerous man on the planet. Just showing you that a combination of martial arts, peak physical condition, detective skills and predator skills. Predator skills as in being able to clear a room full with armed men. Not that type of predator that, you know, assaults women. And when talking about peak physical condition, he's not someone that's born with this type of physical condition. Like Superman's born strong, Wonder Woman's born strong, but with Batman he needs to train to be, you know, at this level of physical condition. Another interesting aspect with Batman is his gadgets that he, you know, develops alongside Lucius Fox. The classical Batarangs and the Bat Claw is awesome, but then you have more advanced technology like the remote controlled Batarang, or hacking devices that he uses to break into sealed off rooms, or freeze grenades, or smoke grenades. Or what about an EMP gun, or rocket boots? Like, the list just goes on and on and on. But my favorite gadget is of course the Bat credit card from Batman and Robin. Like, that thing, like, what? Is it a private Bat bank, or what's the deal here? So many questions from that horrible movie. Anyway, back to the point I was making. Batman's able to use his intelligence to create gadgets. Usually, these gadgets are created when he's not able to solve a problem using his physical abilities. Like with Superman, if he's stuck behind a door or needs to enter somewhere, he'll just give that wall a new asshole. But with Batman, that's not possible. Instead, he must develop his own technological solution. But what makes Batman great is also his origin story that everyone in the history of this planet knows about. What's great about it is that it sets a tone for the character. Because if he's not out there, you know, protecting Gotham or not being a symbol, then the things that happen to his parents will happen to other people as well. And the children that see this happen will become just as messed up in the head as he is. You know, dressing up as a bat and fighting people. I just love his origin story because it's quite simple but clear as to why he's doing what he's doing. Talking more about Batman, of course, I think a big part of him being the greatest is the different stories that he's gotten over the years. One of these being The Long Halloween. It's an iconic story where you see Batman in his early days. Days where Harvey Dent's not become Two-Face yet. The story is about this lunatic called Calendar Man that only kills victims on holidays throughout the whole year. We also get to see villains like the Joker, Mad Hatter, Scarecrow, the Riddler and many more. Also, the origin story of Two-Face is showcased. Pure brilliance. Another classic Batman story is The Killing Joke, which is basically the story where Batman breaks his sacred rule. He finally ends up killing the Joker. Why? Because he literally crippled Barbara Gordon, I can't even speak anymore. Then kidnapped the commissioner and showed him pictures of his daughter, naked and crippled. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Do you hear how messed up, that is, they just end up laughing in each other's faces, and Batman just strangles him to death. Totally understandable, and Batman should not be charged with murder here. I think what these storylines have in common is that they showcase the psychological warfare the Batman takes part of, that is constantly battling completely insane people. A hero like Spider-Man's also battling great villains, but he can always rely on his superpowers, combined with his villains not being this level of insane, while Batman's only relying on his own human tools. And speaking of villains, this brings us to the second argument. There's a classical saying that a superhero's only as good as their villains, and there's no denying it. Batman's got literally the greatest rogues gallery of all the time, and it's not even close. Or maybe you could argue Spider-Man, because you know, he got several awesome villains. But I do think that Batman's villains are far more interesting, mainly because I think that they all challenge him both physically and mentally, and do cause several psychological scars. Looking at a villain like the Riddler, he's constantly challenging Batman on the intellectual plane, in the sense that he keeps Batman sharp. If Batman's not sharp and not able to solve the Riddler's puzzles, well, then people are going to die. Another classic villain is Bane, one of my favorites, and mainly because he's not your typical super strong bruiser guy. He's highly intellectual and is able to carefully construct an amazing plan of attack. In the comics, he didn't just take on Batman in a direct assault. Instead, he freed all of the villains that were locked up in Arkham Asylum. And after Batman catches all the different villains, here comes Bane and just breaks the man's back. What a back shot, dude. And finally, we get to the greatest villain of all time, the Joker. The man's done so much to Batman, killing the second Robin, crippling Batgirl, constantly killing innocent people. I can go on and on and on. Then of course we have other iconic villains as well. Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, Poison Ivy, the Penguin, Two-Face, Clayface, Hush, Harley Quinn, Ra's al Ghul. Yeah, speaking of Ra's al Ghul, here's another villain that's constantly quote-unquote haunting him. He completely disagrees with Batman's methods, saying that killing is necessary to rid the world of evil, while Batman of course doesn't kill. Why is this a problem? Because Ra's wants Batman to be his heir and just save the world in the quote-unquote right way. But of course, despite me raving about Batman and how great he is, which obviously he's great, but his main competitor here is Spider-Man. I think the primary case for Spider-Man is that he's far more relatable, mainly because he's not this billionaire that doesn't struggle with things like girlfriends, social life, and of course money. With Peter Parker's character, he's constantly struggling with money. Literally in every scene there's an issue where he's trying to earn money so that he can pay his rent, take care of his aunt, and provide for himself and his wife. And it's just not the money aspect. Spider-Man's literally struggling with his social life on a constant basis. Everyone's always questioning why he's acting weird and not showing up, or why he's just constantly disappearing everywhere. Even his Aunt May thinks that he's disappointed her several times. And what can he say? The man's literally out there saving lives. Peter's this everyday person with everyday problems, combined with him having to be a superhero. And of course, like with Batman, Spider-Man's origin story is just simple, quite epic and effective. We always know why he keeps moving forward, why he keeps fighting despite the odds being against him. Literally, there's one issue where he has severe head trauma after fighting Dr. Doom. Why does he fight Dr. Doom? Well, because he was protecting one of his villains from Dr. Doom. Right there you see that he's willing to do whatever it takes, despite him having a serious concussion to the point where he's hallucinating that Uncle Ben's next to him. I've been talking a lot here about some specific comic, but the point is that Peter's far more relatable than Batman. How many people are born that rich? How many people rarely struggle with their social life? Like, it's a bit unrelatable, dude. But despite this counter-argument being completely brilliant, mainly because I'm the one who created it, there's a case to be made that the reason that Batman doesn't struggle with his social life is because he's chosen not to have one, really. Except for public appearances, he's not the person that goes out partying with his friends, or visits his relatives, or has a wife or kids to care about. Or he's got a child, Damian Wayne, that he sort of turns into Robin, which is just, you know, weird. But hey, it works. Instead, Batman's completely committed to the war against crime. So of course it's not that super relatable, because who in their right mind would give up all the beautiful things in life and completely commit themselves to stopping crimes? especially if you're a billionaire with endless amount of opportunities. Also, if you're a billionaire, you can like help out the world in different ways. But Bruce picks the most efficient and difficult way because of his purpose, because of his motto in life. He's got a clear purpose. Make sure that what happened to him does not happen again to anyone else. Which is of course impossible, Bruce. Like, just, you know, it's literally impossible. But at least you're bringing down the number, I think. So, to make a long, shitty story short, Batman's the greatest superhero of all time. Why? Well, because he's a human being without superpowers. But despite him not having superpowers, he's completely committed himself to becoming a war machine. That's also the world's greatest detective. Combined with him having the greatest rogues gallery of all time, having to go up against villains like the Riddler, Bane, Ra's al Ghul, and of course, the greatest villain of all time. So, to every Spider-Man fan out there, just stop it! Stop it!